Hey guys, today we are talking about using a fasting protocol for pain and inflammation. We know that chronic pain is really at epidemic levels. And so when we look at the statistics, we just see that chronic pain, there's 116 million people, or 30% of Americans, that are living with some sort of chronic or severe pain. That's more than diabetes, heart disease, cancer, more all of them combined. So pain is really at epidemic levels. And when you're dealing with pain, as some of you guys know, it definitely affects your sleep, your energy, your ability to concentrate and focus, and your mood. And so 77% report feeling depressed, 70% struggle to concentrate, 74% have low energy levels, and 86% don't sleep well. So it really affects all areas of our life. And really, the way inflammation works is inflammation is designed to actually save our lives. We know that throughout the history of mankind, systemic infections have killed more people throughout the history of mankind than anything else. That means an infection that gets into our body and into our bloodstream and goes septic. That is the number one, leading cause of death throughout the history of mankind. So the body has adapted over the years. It's created this inflammatory process. And inflammation basically aggregates all these white blood cells to any area where there's tissue damage or or environments that are similar to what would happen with tissue damaged states, like when we get very stressed, for example. In our ancestors, when they got stressed, oftentimes that was associated with some sort of predator, or maybe they were in a war, and they got hit with a spear, or they got bitten by something, or attacked in some way. So the body gets ready when we're under stress to prevent against bacteria and other microorganisms from getting into the bloodstream and causing a massive infection. So it creates this inflammatory process. Inflammation is our protection from that. And inflammation in the short term is good. So if you break your ankle or whatever it is, you need some level of inflammation to basically break down the damaged tissue, so the body can then rebuild and heal. That's important. It's also an important part of clotting blood, different things like that. It's important when we get a tissue injury. These things are important. And I always tell people it's like having a fireplace in your house. When the fire's in the fireplace, it's wonderful. Okay. However, if you pour gasoline on the fire and now the fire spreads out of the fireplace, starts burning up your walls, that's a big problem. And that's really what happens with chronic inflammation. When we're creating an environment in our body that perpetuates this inflammatory stimulus and we get too much inflammation, that's when our body really starts breaking itself down. And we know that this inflammation affects all the tissues of the body, affects our brain. It's associated with poor memory, Alzheimer's disease, multiple sclerosis, thyroid issues, cardiovascular, heart diseases, chronic inflammation, basically affecting the blood vessels. So our lungs, things like allergies, asthma, COPD, all inflammatory based. Our muscles, pain, different issues like that, GI tract, GERD, Crohn's disease, inflammatory bowel, celiac disease, bones. So osteoporosis, believe it or not, is actually an inflammatory condition. Our skin, eczema, acne, psoriasis, things like that, rosacea, these are all inflammatory issues. Kidneys. So even things like hypertension oftentimes can be related to issues going on with the kidneys, not being able to filter well because of the amount of inflammation and in those kidneys, nephritis, kidney failure, things like that. So it affects all the tissues of our body. Now, the great thing about fasting is fasting stimulates autophagy. And this is where our body recycles damaged components. So fasting itself is very anti-inflammatory. Whenever we eat food, we are bringing in bacteria and different potential pathogens. And so our body creates more inflammation. So the act of eating is more of an inflammatory act, whereas fasting by nature, because we're not eating, we're not increasing insulin, and insulin will activate inflammation. Because of that, it's inherently very anti-inflammatory. One of the best ways to reduce inflammation is to do a fast. And fasting will stimulate self-healing through this process of autophagy, where our body will break down tissue cells and organelles within the tissue, like mitochondria, that have been damaged by inflammation and oxidative stress. And this can have a great impact on pain levels as well as chronic disease and things like that. And so on a regular basis, a really good idea to do intermittent fasting. And so there are, many different ways to do intermittent fasting. If you're in chronic pain, I would really recommend doing something like, a 16 to 18 hour fast daily, and then once or twice a week doing like a full 1 day fast, or even like a 36 or 48-hour fast, possibly once a week. Doing a little bit of a longer fast can really help downregulate pain and stimulate more autophagy and help you get better. And then from time to time, also doing a longer, more extended fast. And a lot of people will ask me, well, how often can I do an extended fast? Well, depending on your body type. So thin, lean people, probably best, to do a 3 to 5 day fast. And if your goal is you want to see a significant reduction in inflammation and pain, and possibly maybe you're dealing with a chronic disease as well, you may do that every 8 to 12 weeks. So thinking every 2 to 3 months or so at most, okay? Because you're so lean, you don't want to put too much stimulus of fasting and famine. You also need some feasting in there as well, so you don't get hormone dysregulation. That's an important component there. Now, if you're normal weight, feel like you're, at your ideal weight, then you might do it a little bit, more often until you get the desired result. So every 6 to 8 weeks. And if you're overweight, you're really looking to lose weight, you might even do a 5 to 10 day fast every single month. Okay. Especially if you're very overweight. If you're obese, you can handle a lot more of this fasting because your body just has so much extra fat reserves. So it's not going to go into a starvation mode where it shuts down your metabolism and dysregulates your hormones. So, but when you're thin and you're lean, you got to be careful with that. Okay. So it's very, very important to understand. But doing a longer fast every now and then can really help your body down-regulate this inflammation, stimulate more autophagy and more self-healing at a really higher and deeper level. And if you're doing this consistently, like let's say, you're a 55-year-old man in chronic pain, you do something like, let's say your normal weight, a 4 or 5 day, maybe even up to a 7 day fast every 2 months. Okay. Within a year, your body's literally going to have rebuilt itself. It's going to have gone through so much autophagy and downregulating all these inflammatory gene pathways. You're going to see significant changes and significant improvement in your health. Now, a couple supplements that I like to add in. These are totally safe supplements for most people to add in when they're fasting. They're not going to reduce autophagy. In fact, they actually help enhance autophagy. One supplement is proteoenzymes. This is proteolytic enzymes, which help to break down scar tissue. So this will actually help the repair process more effectively. They're going to break down scar tissue, help with tissue repair. For people that have, gut infections, they help break down microbial biofilms. So they just overall support the healing process. In fact, a lot of people use proteoenzymes when they get sports injuries, sprained ankles, broken ankles, things like that. So different tendinitis can really be helpful for these types of conditions. So if you have chronic pain, proteoenzymes in general, even if you're not fasting, can be really helpful. But you can take them during the fasting period, and they're not going to inhibit autophagy, and they're going to help with tissue healing. So very, very good for somebody that's in pain. Now, the contraindication would be we never use proteoenzymes with a pregnant woman. Okay. Possibly they could affect the fetus. Nursing is fine. You can use proteoenzymes. And then also people that are on blood thinning medications or just have very, very low platelet levels. So proteoenzymes can reduce platelets a bit. So they can have a blood thinning effect. So if you were on that, you would not want to use those. And then one other thing would be some sort of an ulcer, gastric or duodenal ulcer. If you take proteoenzymes, what I find is that those people end up with more pain. The enzymes get in there, and basically, especially the gastric ulcers, because they get into the stomach and they can start basically aggravating that ulcer. And that's not what we want. So those would be the contraindications. Other than that, though, proteoenzymes can be great. And then inflamed defense as well. So this has got things like resveratrol, turmeric, quercetin, ginger, boswellia, which is frankincense, right? These are very, very powerful anti-inflammatory herbs in them that have been shown to actually help stimulate the autophagy process. So they're not going to reduce autophagy. They're actually going to help stimulate deeper levels of autophagy and reduce inflammation. And so my protocol that I use when people are fasting, this is great for, an extended 3, 5, 7-day water fast, would be something like this: proteoenzymes, taking 10 caps 2 times daily, or you could do 5 caps 4 times daily. I try to do 2 times daily just because a lot of times people forget to take them when I have them taking a certain supplement more than twice daily. Twice daily can be easy to remember because you can do it in the morning when you wake up and before you go to bed. So it's kind of easy to remember, but you can also break these dosages down into 4 uses, like every, say 4 hours or so. You could do 5 caps 4 times daily, 5 caps every 4 hours. And then the inflamed defense, you would do, if you're doing it twice, you would do 6 caps 2 times daily or 3 caps 4 times daily. And that's really an aggressive supplement protocol to reduce pain and inflammation quickly. I see that help a lot of people that are dealing with chronic pain issues. So a really good strategy to use. And then, when you come off the fast, oftentimes you can stay on that protocol if you've had chronic pain for years, okay? Or, if you've only been dealing with it for months, you can reduce that down. So then I'll have people drop it down to where they're doing something like 3 caps of proteoenzymes twice daily and 2 caps of inflamed defense twice daily. I would be more of like a maintenance dose if you feel like you're more susceptible to having the pain come back. And then really going on a regular intermittent fasting schedule can be really helpful as well. So hopefully you guys got a lot of value out of this training. Drop a comment. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do. Hit the bell button as well so you get all the updates, all the uploads that I'm sending out. And would love to answer any questions you guys have about this. You can check out the products in the links below as well. So with that said, guys, we'll see you on a future online training. Be blessed, everybody.